Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are going to be working on our project of JavaScript in JavaScript. We will do more JavaScript later on, but right now this is just basic JavaScript. And we're going to be learning how to take our data from the form and save it to a text file. Now, it would be nice if you could save the text file into like Replit itself, but there are a few problems and I'll explain that at the end. Okay? So right now what's going to happen is once we take the form and once we press submit, we will get a downloaded text file, and that text file will basically be our data. So let's get started. The first thing is we're going to be using something called file saver because we have to save the file, and this will be in the description. So make sure that you go onto that YouTube video, go to the description and copy this and put this in your head. Make sure this is in your head. Okay. The second thing that's important is this. Remember I told you a lot that this is not important, you can delete it, and you can even delete this monster survey.js, or I created a monster survey.js. But basically, this is important because we are basically linking this, whatever's in here, to our HTML. So take a good look at this. You can call the JS whatever you want, but you need to make sure that this JS is also the same. The final thing that we've done is right here on the input, the submit button. We're also going to add an on click. Now this should be familiar to you. When we click the submit button, we're going to call a function get form data, which is basically going to collect all of our data from our form, put it in a clean, easy way to read, and then make a text file that we can download. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so we're here. This is our get form data function right now. So this might look a bit intimidating, but let's go through it step by step. Basically, what this is supposed to do is supposed to get all the form data, and then it was supposed to send an email, but then remember, that gets a bit complicated. So, and create a text file with the organized data. Okay? So we have our variables name, email, best island, lightning score, and more info monsters, which correspond to all of our inputs right here, right? And then we also have a form. We have to also take the form, right? As a whole, which we use query selector for. Query selector basically selects an element by its class, and our class is .content. Then what we do is we set name, email, best island, lightning island score equal to form.elements.value. Okay, what this means is within the form, we take a list of all the elements, right? And then each of them have an ID. So this is corresponding to the ID. So if you go here, let's see, where is it? Where do I ask for the name? Right here. See, ID name, ID email, ID. Where's the ID for this? ID 5 island, right? These all correspond to whatever is here. Okay, so this is how you get all the input from the forms, right? So we basically set these variables equal to the value of whatever element this is, and these are all inputs, right? This last one is a bit more complicated, and also gets into something called string manipulation. So remember, strings are these words, right? Remember, we can add strings together. So if we do something like bog plus wart, we get bogwort, which is pretty cool. Okay. We can also join strings together. So bog plus wart plus trucks or something like that, right? We have 3 strings like that. We can join it together using like a dash, let's say, like this, right? And there is a function for that as well. Okay, and we're going to use that knowledge in order to deal with this last one. See, this last one right here is a checkbox, and each of them can either be true or false. So what we do is we have a list, right? And if that document.get element by ID bogwort, so remember this ID, this checkbox's ID is bogwort. If that's true, meaning if it's checked, then we can add Bogwart to the list. If T-Rox is true, we add T-Rox to the list. If Clamble is true, we add that to the list, right? And this is all in the list. And then we join them together using this comma. So let's say if we have all three, Bogwart, T-Rox, and Clamble. This is what it will look like. Bogwart, T-Rox, Clamble, which is really easy to read, right? And this works for like even 100 elements, 100 checkboxes, even though I'd question why you'd have that. Now that we have all of our data, how do we combine it together into one easy to read paragraph? Let's check that out. Okay, so lines 24 to 28, let's look at them. So let's read the comment. Now we will organize the data using a huge format statement. Make sure to use the tilde. Okay, this is important, not the quotes, but the tilde. So look at the top, well, where the tilde is, but not this. This is actually the tilde, but it should be the grave button, I think they call it. Basically, it looks like quotes, but it's not. Actually, let me check what that is. Okay, so I did some research and it's called the back tick character. It's basically the top left corner of your screen next to the 1 and the tab, right? Which is different from quotes. Very important. So our email body statement is equal to this huge statement right here. And let's go through it. So we use the tilde and then the closing tilde. And then you see how we have these, like this piece of white text. We have orange and then white. Orange means that we're choosing, like name is printed, right? But white basically means this is a placeholder. This is going to be replaced by the string name, which would be cap. This is going to be replaced by the string email. This is going to be replaced by the string best island. This is going to be replaced by the number Lightning Island score. The final thing that might be confusing if you haven't taken Python courses yet is this, the \n. That's basically a new line. So you can think of it as basically like this, right? But I don't want to do that. I just want to use the new line character because it's much easier to write. Okay, so whenever you want like a new line between something, you just do \n. Finally, we will not send the email, but we will save data in a text file. Save data, name, and then the email body statement. The reason we need the name, we'll talk about that soon. So we have the email body statement. I forgot to write that. So here it is. And then we also have this function save data, name and body text. Okay. So what we're doing is we're passing in this email body statement and it's going to be equal to body text, right? And this is the confusing part. So hear me out. Okay. This creates a text file, a blob. Okay. So a blob is basically a large binary object. Don't worry about it too much. Just know that it's just a placeholder for text that you can store in a form, right? Or not a form, but a text file. So it creates a text file in our form data folder, or it would, but I'll get to that later. And saves the results in a file named with the name of the user. Okay, so let's break this down. So we have a blob, and we're gonna set it equal to a new blob. Okay, and this first parameter is basically the text within the brackets. So let's say I just want to save name, right? Then I would just do that, and we have a text file name named. But I don't want to do that. I want to save the variable body text, which has our entire data from our form there. And then this, honestly, you can just copy this. This is just saying what type of text file we want to save this in. Okay? And this is not necessary, but you can have it if you want. It's just good practice to indicate which car set you're using. Okay? Finally, this save as function, this won't work. Okay? This won't work if you don't have this. So I'm reminding you, make sure you have this. But the save as function takes in the parameters of a blob and the area in which you want to save it to. Now, I've told you this multiple times, it's not going to work the way we want it to, but in an ideal world, we create a folder called form data. And basically every time we enter in a data, it would be saved into the form data folder called calf.txt or samarth.txt or something like that, right? it's called string literals. We're taking the name placeholder, so that name can change depending on what the name that they entered it was. Now, before we get into the problems with this, let's see if it works. Okay, let's submit. There's one thing that I think we might be doing wrong, but let's check. So here's a cool thing. If we do return false, the page won't reload when we do this. So let's check it out now. Let's reload the page real quick. Enter in our data, plant island, submit. Yeah, okay, there you go. So form data, calf, and I've already saved a lot of these. So let's open it. Hopefully you'll be able to see this on your screen. If not, I'll ask my editor to pop it up on the screen. But basically, you should be seeing the data stored in a very clean and easy to read way within this text file. Now let me address the problems. So what this basically does, remember, is it reloads the page. But let me address it, or it doesn't reload the page, so the text file gets downloaded. Now let me address the problems, okay? So the reason why we can't send emails is because it's really complicated. There's a lot of security issues. You have to disable like authentication. You have to use fake emails. So it's a complete new science. In fact, we could have a whole unit about that, but I just wanted to make this a short unit teaching you how we can take data from a form and do something with it, right? Now, what would be nice if, remember, we could create that form data folder and we could save text files into it. And honestly, we could. The problem is we are using Replit, and Replit doesn't really support that. If you were using, let's say, Visual Studio Code or Atom or something like local IDE, like where you can code, but it's on your own machine. If let's say you did the form, it would actually save a text file within your local path. And then you'd upload it to, like, let's say a service provider like Netlify, okay? So Netlify is great, right? It allows you to deploy your own websites really fast. But if they enter something, anywhere anyone enters data, it would be saved in that folder's relative path. Now, there's a huge issue between like front end and back end, and I don't want to get into that, but just know that unless you use like a local editor and not Replit, this won't work. And this is just the limitations of Replit. Replit is great. You can edit in real time with other people, Google Doc style, but there are limitations. Now, if you want to see me create a tutorial on how to do that using like Visual Studio, then let me know and I might do it. Let me know in the Discord or comment down below. I hope you learned a lot watching this. You can do other stuff with it. You don't have to save it to a text file. You know how to read the data now. So go ahead and do something great with this. I'll see you.